Way back before the first Iraq War, Muhammad Ali personally rescued American hostages from Saddam Hussein, and he didn't even throw a punch. On August 2nd, 1990, Saddam Hussein and his Iraqi army invaded neighboring Kuwait. It surprised the out of him. Saddam had little trouble taking hostages, and nabbed many Westerners working in Kuwait and back in Iraq. And luck would have it, General Motors actually had a plant in Baghdad chock full of Westerners, and yeah, they were all taken. What was GM doing with the plant in Baghdad anyway? Making Escalades for Saddam's homies? Weird. Anyway, needless to say, Saddam taking over Kuwait and his taking of American hostages prompted the UN to give a deadline of January 16th, 1991, to pull out of Kuwait and return the hostages. But in true Saddam Hussein fashion, he just doubled down, moving 15 of those American hostages to strategic locations inside Iraq to be used as human shields in the event of retaliatory strikes from the multinational force that was growing larger by the day. In October, Saddam released the foreign women and children, but many in the State Department feared that the remaining hostages would be killed when coalition forces engaged the Iraqis in Kuwait, either by friendly fire or by their Iraqi captors. And that's when the greatest boxer of all time stepped into the international ring. No pun intended. Muhammad Ali was highly regarded in the Islamic world, especially after he changed his name from Cassius Clay. Ali decided that he was not going to stand for any of this BS going on in the Middle East, and at the behest of the Ramsey Clark Peace Organization, he traveled to Baghdad with the mission of coming home with all of those hostages. Many back at home were critical of Ali's trip. The Bush administration worried it would legitimize Saddam's invasion. The US media accused Ali of trying to boost his own popularity and perhaps win the Nobel Peace Prize. And the New York Times claimed Ali was actually aiding Hussein, and they criticized his ability to communicate, reporting, "Surely the strangest hostage release campaign of recent days has been the goodwill tour of Muhammad Ali. He has been attending meeting after meeting in Baghdad despite his frequent inability to speak clearly." Damn. F you, New York Times. By 1990, Ali had been fighting Parkinson's disease for 6 years, suffering from tremors and slurred speech. He had to use hand signals to communicate to his spokesman many times during his interactions in Iraq. But he still managed to visit schools, talk to people on the streets, and pray in Baghdad's mosques. Crowds flocked to him wherever he went, and he never turned anyone away. It would be part of his promise to Hussein to trade hostages for an honest account of the situation. During his trip, he actually ran out of Parkinson's medication, but stayed in the country until he could meet with the Iraqi dictator. He was bedridden for days at a time. This trip was far from a publicity stunt, as the greatest was suffering but refused to leave until he could attempt to get the hostages released. The Irish hospital in Baghdad replenished Ali's medication just before Saddam Hussein agreed to meet with him. Ali sat as the Iraqi dictator praised himself for how well he treated American prisoners, and Ali reiterated his promise to bring back to the US his honest account of his visit. The American hostages met with Ali at his hotel in Baghdad that night and were repatriated on December 2nd, 1990, after 4 months of captivity. 6 weeks later, the US and the multinational forces staging in Saudi Arabia during Operation Desert Shield launched Operation Desert Storm. Coalition forces liberated Kuwait from Iraqi troops in 100 hours. Critics claimed Ali's involvement seemed to play into Hussein's propaganda game, but hostage negotiations are notoriously complex. The United States doesn't exactly have a clear policy on how to handle situations where Americans are held as collateral by foreign governments. According to Bill Richardson, who served as the US ambassador to the UN and has been involved in negotiations with North Korea, America's hostage negotiation strategy is broken. That, or you just need to send in Dennis Rodman. No? So, whatever Ali's motivations, or even Hussein's, at the end of the day, their conversation brought Americans home. Muhammad Ali did not receive the Nobel Peace Prize, but he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2005 and Liberty Medal in 2012. If you know about a time when a civilian went above and beyond and saved the day, leave us a comment. We'd love to tell that story. Also, remember what Muhammad Ali always used to say, drink like a sailor and sting like a sea bee. All right, fine. Buy my shirt.